Imagine a regular school day. The sun is shining and kids are excited to learn. But this story isn't just about any school day. It's about a day when everything changed at an elementary school in Georgia. Our story is about a brave woman named Antoinette Tuff. She worked in the front office where she helped students and parents. Antoinette was a kind person, always ready with a smile. But inside, she was dealing with her own problems. She felt sad and worried sometimes. Little did she know on this particular day her strength and kindness would be needed more than ever. A scary event was about to happen, and Antoinette would become a hero. This is the story of how she saved many lives. Let's picture that school. Imagine colorful hallways with drawings and paintings. Classrooms are filled with the happy sounds of children learning. Mrs. Davis teaches her class about numbers. Mr. Jones reads a story about a brave knight. Outside, kids play tag during recess, their laughter filling the air. The school is usually a happy and safe place. Teachers work hard to make learning fun. The principal walks around, greeting everyone with a smile. Parents drop off their children, trusting they will be safe and cared for. It's a place where friendships are made and futures begin, a place of innocence and joy. But that peaceful scene was about to be broken. Suddenly, everything changed. A man walked into the school, but he wasn't there to learn or visit. He was troubled and carried a dangerous weapon, a big scary rifle. He didn't look happy or friendly. His face was full of anger and sadness. He walked through the front doors, his heavy footsteps echoing in the hallway. The happy sounds of the school began to fade as people noticed him. His presence felt like a dark cloud moving into a sunny day. No one knew what he was going to do, but everyone felt the danger. The school was no longer a safe haven. Fear had arrived. Panic began to spread like wildfire. Teachers quickly ushered their students into classrooms, locking the doors. They pulled down the shades, trying to hide from the danger outside. Children huddled together, whispering and scared. Some started to cry. The principal ran to the intercom, his voice shaking as he announced a lockdown. "This is not a drill," he said, his voice filled with urgency. Everyone knew this was serious. Every adult in the school was doing everything they could to protect the children. But the fear was still there, hanging heavy in the air. They could only hope and pray they would all be safe. Antoinette was in the front office when she saw him. Her heart pounded in her chest. She was scared, just like everyone else. But she knew she couldn't just hide. She had to do something. She thought of the children, their innocent faces, and she knew she had to be brave. The gunman was getting closer, his eyes darting around. Antoinette took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. She knew this could be dangerous, but she couldn't let fear control her. She stood her ground, ready to face whatever was coming. Her moment to act was now. Antoinette took another deep breath and started to talk. Her voice was calm, even though her heart was racing. She spoke to the gunman like she would speak to her own son. She asked him his name and told him hers. She wanted him to see her as a person, not just someone in the office. She didn't yell or scream. Instead, she spoke softly and kindly. She tried to understand him. "What's wrong?" she asked gently. "Can you tell me what's making you so upset?" Her calm voice filled the tense air, a small light in a very dark place. She hoped he would listen. Antoinette knew what it felt like to struggle. She told the gunman about her own problems, how she sometimes felt sad and lost. She shared her feelings, hoping he would understand that he wasn't alone. She wanted him to know that even when things are hard, there is always hope. By sharing her own struggles, Antoinette showed the gunman that she wasn't just a stranger. She was a person, with feelings just like him. She hoped that her honesty would help him to calm down and see that there was a different way to solve his problems. She was trying to build a bridge between them, a bridge of understanding and compassion. The conversation went back and forth. Sometimes the gunman would yell, his voice full of anger and frustration. Other times he would be quiet, his sadness filling the room. Antoinette listened patiently, letting him express his feelings. She didn't interrupt or judge him. She kept reminding him that hurting others wouldn't solve anything. She told him that there were people who cared about him and wanted to help. She spoke about forgiveness and second chances. Slowly, very slowly, the anger in his voice began to soften. The sadness was still there, but it wasn't as sharp. A tiny seed of hope had been planted. Then Antoinette said something that seemed to change everything. She looked at the gunman and said, "It's gonna be all right, baby." These simple words, filled with love and understanding, seemed to touch something deep inside him. It was like a mother comforting her child. The gunman's shoulders relaxed a little. He looked at Antoinette with a flicker of something that almost looked like hope in his eyes. Her words broke through the wall of anger and sadness that had surrounded him. "It's gonna be all right, baby." A promise of peace, a promise of healing, a promise that even in the darkest moments things can get better. Slowly, the gunman lowered his weapon. He looked at Antoinette, his eyes filled with tears. He placed the rifle on the floor. He had given up. The danger was passing. Antoinette kept talking to him, her voice still calm and soothing. She assured him that he was doing the right thing. She told him that help was on the way. The fear in the school began to fade, replaced by a sense of relief. The children were safe. Antoinette's bravery had saved them all. The nightmare was finally coming to an end. Soon the police arrived, their sirens screaming. They rushed into the school and carefully took the gunman into custody. He didn't resist. He seemed calm, almost peaceful. The officers made sure everyone was safe. The teachers and children were so relieved. They hugged each other tightly, tears of joy streaming down their faces. The lockdown was lifted, and the children were led out of their classrooms. They ran to their parents, who were waiting anxiously outside. It was a happy reunion, filled with love and gratitude. The school was safe again. Everyone knew that Antoinette was the reason the children were safe. She didn't use a weapon or fight. She used her words, her kindness, and her courage. She faced a scary situation and chose love over fear. News reporters came to the school to talk to Antoinette. People all over the world heard about her bravery. They called her a hero. But Antoinette didn't think of herself as a hero. She said she just did what anyone would have done. But everyone knew that what she did was extraordinary. She saved 800 children that day, proving that kindness can be stronger than anything. But there was something that the cameras didn't catch, something that Antoinette kept private for a little while. Before the police took him away, the gunman told Antoinette something important. He told her about his struggles with his mental health. He explained how hard it was for him to get help. This secret confession opened Antoinette's eyes. She realized that the gunman wasn't just a bad person. He was a person who needed help, but didn't know how to get it. This private conversation changed everything. Not just for Antoinette, but for the whole community. It was a turning point. After that day, the local police decided to change the way they handled situations involving people with mental health problems. They realized that it was important to understand what someone was going through before reacting. They started training officers to talk to people calmly and with respect, just like Antoinette had done. They learned that sometimes the best way to help someone is to listen and show compassion. They worked with mental health experts to learn how to recognize the signs of someone in distress and how to get them the help they needed. Antoinette's bravery not only saved lives that day, but it also changed the way the police protected the community. Antoinette Tuff's story is a reminder that even ordinary people can do extraordinary things. She showed us that kindness, understanding, and courage can make a real difference in the world. She faced a terrible situation with love in her heart, and she saved so many lives. Her legacy lives on, not just in the lives of the children she saved, but also in the way the police now handle mental health crises. She taught everyone that day that sometimes the most powerful weapon is a kind word and a listening ear. She is a true hero, an example of how one person can change the world for the better. And that is the story of Antoinette Tuff, a bookkeeper, a mother, and a hero. She showed the world that even in the face of danger, kindness can win. She proved that listening and understanding can change lives. Remember Antoinette's story. Remember her courage. Remember her kindness. And remember that even you, no matter how ordinary you may feel, have the power to make a difference in the world. You can be a hero too, simply by choosing love and understanding over fear and anger. Be like Antoinette, be brave, be kind, be a hero,